Our team coverage continues now with Dr. Greg Carr, Associate Professor of Afro-American Studies at Howard University. Dr. Carr, thanks so much for joining us.
Always a pleasure. Good to be here, Shawn.
This is a heavy, heavy day for so many people. George Floyd's murder set off worldwide calls for police accountability and racial equity. What is your assessment of where we stand 1 year later? What's improved and what do we still need to fix?
This time last year, we were at the beginning of intergenerational, multiracial general strike against the existing social order. And we saw very quickly reach crescendos by June and July. And everybody's doing everything from diversity, equity, inclusion training to getting the George Floyd Act actually through Congress, installed in the Senate. And here we are a year later. And it's almost as if much of that energy has settled back into the old patterns. A lot of people could feel discouraged today. We thought we were on the brink of transformational change, and a year later, it doesn't feel that way now. At least not to me.
You bring up my next point I wanted to talk about. Washington Post columnist Jonathan Capehart recently wrote an opinion piece titled "Being Black in America is Exhausting." His article sort of shares some of the same sentiments I've heard from many people about being tired of the trauma of police brutality, watching more videos of people who are being shot or killed, tired of being resilient, tired of doing everything right, but still not being seen, heard, or treated as equals. How do we move forward together? How do we not stay in this place of complacency?
Shawn, I think we have to pay attention to what has been said, not only in the past year, but in the history of this settler colony that turned into a state called the United States. The simple fact of the matter is, in the past year, what we've seen more than anything is that Black folk have really become more awakened to the ideas of self-determination that animated us since the end of enslavement. In other words, you see Black folk talking about race and trying to, understand and figure out how we build better community. Mm-hmm. That is a stark contrast to what the narrative we get. Oh, the country is coming together. Country's not coming together. The big response to last summer has been the open declaration of white nationalism by many in the Republican Party, cresting in the January 6th open rebellion. And so I think we have to move forward by listening to the fact that many people in this country went to their separate corners. And those who have suffered the most were the ones who seem to intensify desire not to suffer anymore.
What do we need to do? How do we unite? Because, as we all know, this is not a Black issue. This is an all of us thing. How do we change this?
Well, I think you just actually gave the answer in the question. We have to help folk understand that it is an all of us thing. Mm-hmm. And there can't be any compromise with our common humanity. This isn't a left versus right. This isn't a Democrat versus Republican. This is literally about the future, not only of the United States, but of the world. And so if we don't understand that this affects all of us, state violence, lack of access to healthcare, education, all the related issues, the underlying issues, if we don't understand that it affects all of us, then we're all going to suffer. We must now not only invite people into this conversation, we must demand that they come into the conversation and help them understand finally that if you do not come into this conversation, the consequences aren't just going to affect somebody else, they're going to affect you.
All right, Dr. Greg Carr, we're going to leave it right there. Associate Professor of Afro-American Studies at Howard University. Thanks so much for joining us this afternoon.
Always. Thank you, Shawn.